Hi, my name's Ken Colby. I'm the author of Green Screen Wizard. Today we're going to talk about Green Screen Wizard Pro Studio with Editor. Previously, I created a video about Green Screen Wizard Full, our entry-level product. If you haven't watched that video, I would go back and watch that before you watch this, as it discusses all the fundamental capabilities of Green Screen Wizard. Now, Green Screen Wizard Professional has some great extra features. One is called Pick Background, and if you click on Effects, we have text and images, special effects, and shadows. Now, the jewel of the Green Screen Wizard Studio with Editor is the editor itself. Today, I'm going to make two videos. The first one is going to deal with all of these special effects and features. The second video will deal exclusively with the editor. It'll make it a little easier for you to watch. So let's get started. First of all, you notice that it has a new button called Pick Background. What does that do? Well, pretty simple. There's a directory of images that you can specify in Setup that contain all the backgrounds you'd like to show a customer. And what happens is it goes through and does like a mini batch process and adds the foreground to all the backgrounds. And then you can select that. So for example, we could select this one. And we look at it and say, well, you know, that's kind of cheesy. We don't like that. So we're going to go back and pick another one. Now notice it didn't regenerate the pictures. It saves them until the foreground photo changes. So now we're going to select the girl on the flag. We kind of like that. That's fun. Okay, so that's what Pick Background's all about. So let's take a look at what's new in the Effects tab. Now in the past, you could always add a simple label to your image. But with Green Screen Wizard Pro, you have unlimited text capability. You can add text anywhere and as much as you want. So let's take a look at that. It's a little bit of a complicated form because, again, it's very open-ended. Okay, so you say, I love the wizard. First thing we could do is we could center the text. We can pick different font sizes. And we can pick different fonts. So we could go Arial Black, or we could do some sort of cool script. Really basically anything that we like. So let's go back and do Arial Black because it's a little easier to see some of the other features. Now over on this side, you can select what color the font is. So for example, red. And whether or not it has a drop shadow, so we can get rid of that. But we could add back an outline color, for example. And we can give it a glow. So you have a lot of capabilities in terms of what you can do. Now, in the Mac version, I didn't have this text background. And I think in the future, in Green Screen Wizard 8, we're going to get rid of this and just give the image loading more capability. But for now, this is a way you can add a little bubble behind the text. So you click Load, and you click your bubble, and you see it doesn't fit. So what we have to do is we have to make the bubble bigger and a little wider, and then we'll center the text in the bubble. Okay. And there you go. Now it's a little big, so we have one more piece of editing. We can kind of make it go down here. And we can put the text anywhere we want on the page, with or without a bubble, and as much text as we want. So just to show off the text features a little more, you could actually create your very own magazine cover with text. And this is probably a good opportunity to talk about GSW files. So let's say we go to Load a Foreground, and we have something in here that we call Mother and Bride. But we're not going to load Mother and Bride. We're going to load what's called the GSW file. And what that contains is all the things that made up the mother and bride photo. So we open it, and we'll take a second, and there we go. Mother and bride. Or sorry, mother and baby. Got brides on the brain. Sorry about that. My son's getting married. But anyways, so that's mother and baby. And you can see there's a lot of text on here, and you can go to effects, text, and you can see here's all the text. And you can move, move things around if you want. Okay? And so you could actually create your own magazine covers, put multiple lines of text, do just about anything you want. All right? Okay, so that covers the new text features. It's a very powerful feature. And also I would remember the GSW file because it's very nice too. All right, let's load a new foreground. So we're going to show some text off. We're looking for our fairy girl. She's here somewhere. Oh, no. Oh, there she is. Okay, we're going to load a different background. Load our butterflies. And we're going to go horizontal. And she's a little big, so we're going to just scale her down a bit. Okay, well that's kind of a fun photo already. But, oh, we got a little butterfly near her, so let's just move her over a little so her ears don't look like a butterfly. And now let's go to effects. And this time we're going to add an image. And we'll add the butterfly wings. Okay, well, two problems. One is they're way too big, but fortunately we have our scaler. And the other problem is, what would you think? Obviously they're in front of her, not behind her. So we can go back and we can edit it, and we can select what layer it goes on. And we're going to say this goes on the background layer, which means it's behind the foreground layer. And there we go. So that's how you can use images. You use this image capability to put things like butterfly wings on. You can also do logos, insert a logo. And there's one other thing that I want to go over because it gets asked so often. And so we're going to load a new foreground of our little bathing suit lady. And we'll put them back on the beach. But I get asked a lot, well, what if I wanted to put two people on here? Well, you can always save an image with no background, right? So you can save it with no background, and then you can go to the load image capability and reload it with someone else. Okay, we want to scale her down, stick her over. Yeah, it's a little tricky to get the scaling right. There we go. But anyways, that's how you can put two people on a page. And if you want, you can put like 3 or 4 different images of the same person, or different people, or really basically whatever you want. Okay, so that covers the image capabilities. So let's take a look at some of the effects. So let's go back to home, we'll go back to vertical, and let's just delete. We'll just delete this for now. Okay. So what are the effects? Well, the first one is you can make things black and white. And you can do so on the foreground or the background. The other popular effect is you can leave everything in color, but you can blur the background out. This makes the image seem to stand on the page. Okay? You can sharpen the output, which is a little hard to see here, and you can add noise. Looks particularly cool if you do black and white and add some noise. It kind of looks like an old grainy photo. All right. So those are some of the special effects. And we can also do sepia tone for, in fact, let's just load a different person for that. There we go. So you can make it look like an old-time photo. Okay. Now the other effect that I think is just great, foreground, background. So we'll load a foreground in the background. We'll make it horizontal. Okay, and this is kind of a lackluster picture. But now if you go ahead and you go to effects, you can turn the foreground into a silhouette and suddenly you have instant art. And I just think that is such a cool effect. Another thing to note is, you know, when you're shooting couples, for example, okay, let's scale this up a little bit. Okay, now something people complain about is, well, you know, I've got wrinkles or I didn't do my makeup right. When you do silhouettes, you don't have to worry about any of that. So if you're doing like a Valentine's dance or something, you could have like a Valentine heart here, or just do everybody in silhouette. They'll all be thrilled with the pictures, and I think it's a great moneymaker. So those are the special effects: blur background, sharpen output, change color. Okay, so let's take a look at shadow. So we load a foreground. I picked this lady because it's pretty easy to see what kind of shadow she has. Load a background, and we'll just go basic blue for now. Well, let's just say we'll scale her down a little bit. Let's say that we want to add a shadow to this background. Well, Green Screen Wizard has a very powerful but complicated shadowing mechanism. So the first thing you can do is there's really three shadow generators. One is for a wall, which projects a shadow on the wall. One is for the floor, and we'll see that in a minute if you're like in sand or something. And then we have floor and wall. So let's go all wall. Now you can see it's broken up a little here, so we have to restore a little bit of the black to the shadow. There we go. Now we have a nice shadow. So that's really all there is to it. You can move it left and right. You can move it up and down. And you can scale it up. And obviously the scale has to do with how far away the person is from the light. So if the wall is close, the shadow is close. If the wall is far away, then the shadow is far away. And you can do all of those things using these little effects. Okay? So let's look at a little harder example. Let's go and put her on some sand. Okay, for this example, we'll push her up a little bit. Oops. Sorry. Scaled her rather than moved her. There we go. Okay, so now you can see that shadow doesn't really work because it's not a wall. It should be on the ground. So we go back to our effects, we go back to shadow, and we say all floor. So now the shadow's on the ground. And if you saw it there for a second, there's a line which shows, I don't know if you saw Peter Pan, but kind of where is the shadow attached. So you got to line that up with her feet because that's what's touching the ground, and then the shadow lines up. Now here you have some more capabilities, so we can skew it to the right, we can skew it to the left. We can actually put it in front of her. Now also in this case you can see we have a pretty dark shadow here, so we might want to make the shadow transparency a little darker. Okay. So that just gives the impression that the person really is standing on the beach. And just one more thing to do to create the illusion. Now the last shadow capability is called wall. Sorry, I want to load a different background to show you. So what happens if you have a floor and a wall in the picture? What does you do here? And we'll go to adjustments, background. Let's give this a little extra wall. Okay, so you see that's not quite right. We'll move her down a little bit. The shadow really should go along the floor and then up the wall. Well, that's pretty tricky. Believe me, the math was tricky too. But we can pick wall and floor. Now what you have to tell Green Screen Wizard is where that line is, and that's what this virtual room does. The virtual room says, well, where's the ground? So that's the right side of it. Now I'm bringing down the left edge. See this gray thing? I'm trying to line that up with the curtain. Okay. Do our skew base again. There we go. And voila. So I know it's a little complicated. There's a pretty comprehensive help file that goes through it. But basically this is the proper shadow for that. You don't have to use Photoshop or anything tricky. You just pop it in the Green Screen Wizard. You do have to have a very clean background when you use these shadow though. It doesn't work well if you have a dirty background. Just to review, you have a virtual room that basically defines where the curtain edge is so that the software knows, oh, that's where the wall starts. And it can be tilted because a lot of times it is. And the same with the feet. The feet can be tilted too. If this foot was behind the other one, you'd need to skew that a little bit. So I suggest you play with it and have some fun. And again, you can create effects that are very difficult to create otherwise. So that's it for the special effects. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to end this video. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch. And then we're going to start another video that describes the airbrush editor and all the features that it has. So thank you very much.